Today, we're diving into one of the biggest challenges that many of the women that I mentor face, which is sitting down and actually doing the work that matters most, doing the work that you most want to do. If you've ever found yourself caught up in distractions, either everyday ones or when life sends you a curveball, chasing shiny objects or getting lost in the busy work that keeps you spinning your wheels, you are not alone. As entrepreneurs, it's easy to get swept up by life's demands and our never-ending to-do lists. But in this episode, we'll explore how to overcome those distractions so you can stay focused on what truly moves the needle in your business and, most importantly, in fulfilling your soul's potential by doing what you came here to do. Drawing on internal family systems and the wisdom of women's spiritual entrepreneurship, I'm going to share practical strategies and soulful practices that help me and can help you anchor into what really matters so you can bring your gifts fully into the world. Let's get started. Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. As we enter into a new season, it's an important time to pause and reflect on what our goals and intentions are through the end of 2024, where we are with our annual goal and vision, and what are the smaller actions that we need to take each month of this final quarter, each week, and definitely each day. And this past week, we had our seasonal visioning retreat in my mastermind program, Sorcerer CEO, where we did this together because it's much easier to run our businesses in 90-day stretches than with a big annual plan which I also recommend having. But as we know, things can shift and change over the course of the year. It's definitely been the case for me this year and pretty much every year that I've been in business. And one of the things that can happen is we can create even a 90-day plan, and then we sit down to do the work and we feel pulled in a million different directions. We get distracted by kind of a latest strategy that we hear about in a webinar, or we just get bogged down by the busy work of doing the admin, answering the emails, or at some level that is a form of distraction. So today we're going to explore how to overcome those distractions so that you can anchor yourself into the kind of deep, meaningful work that not only truly moves the needle in your business, helping you to bring in the traffic, the clients, the revenue that you want, helping you to have the impact that you want, but also that helps you feel like you are actually doing the work that you came here to do, kind of fulfilling that deeper calling. Because at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, isn't that really one of the things that we want to feel the most satisfaction with? So whether it's writing a blog post or a book, carving out time to create the systems and structures that allow you to work on rather than just in your business, or creating and launching an online program or group coaching program, I'll be sharing some practices and perspectives to help you stay focused and grounded on what really matters. And these are all things that I do every day. All right, so let's dive in. The first key is to stay focused on your bigger vision. As entrepreneurs, it's easy to get lost in the weeds of everyday tasks, right? Life is full. We can have client cancellations. We can have refund requests. We can have things coming up with our finances, with family members, and it's easy to lose sight of why we're even doing this in the first place. And we can go into urgency mode, just putting out fires. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of a season, or at the end of a year, we can feel like, gosh, I didn't actually do the things that I wanted to do. And that makes us feel worse about ourselves. So we need to start by reconnecting to that bigger vision. And pretty much anyone who's experienced a certain level of success in their lives and in their businesses, one of the things that they say that they do each morning is they sit down and they review their goals. I highly recommend doing that. Even before I sat down to record this podcast, I did part of my morning practice, which is reviewing my goals, my big goals for business and life right now, my 3 big goals for this season in my business, and then the 3 big things that I want to do today. So when we kind of pan out, we look at what is your ultimate goal. And let's take a goal of achieving financial freedom, having enough wealth and independence to live on your own terms by the age of 50 or 60 or 70. Or perhaps it's creating a business that lets you work on projects that light you up and make a real difference in the world, while also giving you time for learning, for self-care, for travel, family life. Whatever it is, you need to keep that vision at the forefront of your mind each and every day. Then the tasks that you do each day are not just random to-dos. They're not just random fires that you're putting out. They're actually intentional stepping stones toward that vision. So let's take that example of financial freedom again. If that's your goal, you can't just dream about it. When you ask people who have a dream of financial independence, because many people have that dream, you ask them what their plan is, they don't have a plan. So if you want to achieve something great like financial freedom, you need to have a plan. You need to manage your money. You need to save. You need to invest wisely. You need to meet with a financial advisor who can help you to determine how much you need to save, how much you need to invest, and for how long, how much you want to live off of once you achieve that freedom, how long your money will last. So today, if you break down that goal into a more nuanced plan, it might mean tracking your expenses, reviewing your investments, or even creating a new revenue stream. The important thing is to remember that bigger vision and to break it down into smaller, actionable steps that you can tackle today. So we want our bigger visions to intimidate us a bit, to take us out of our comfort zones, but we actually want the actions that we take each day to meet us at the edge of our comfort zones. So how do we do that? We chunk the bigger vision down to today. We chunk it down to something manageable. One of the questions that I ask myself at the start of each day, I actually see it written in front of me right now. It's on a note card in front of my computer, and it comes from personal development teacher, Dr. John DeMartini. He asks, what is the highest priority action I can take today to help fulfill my mission on this planet? This question grounds me in my purpose and helps me to cut through the noise, because there are always so many different things I could be doing at any time, on any day. And it helps me to see what's the most important things for me to be doing that will have the biggest impact while requiring the least amount of time, energy, and resources. This doesn't mean cutting corners. It's about working smarter, not harder. For example, if your vision is financial independence, the highest priority action for you might be to meet with that financial advisor or to set up an automatic transfer to your savings account. Whatever it is, identify that one task and commit to doing it today. Because the goal of fulfilling your soul's potential, it's a big one. And the way you're going to actually do that is by breaking that down into these smaller daily actions. So now that you've identified your priority, it's time to protect your time. I suggest scheduling a 2 to 3 hour chunk of focus time. This is what the author Cal Newport calls deep work. If you haven't read his book, Deep Work, I highly recommend it. The idea is that real valuable work happens in uninterrupted, focused periods. And that's when you make the most progress. So you want to treat this time as sacred. It's just as important as, say, a doctor's appointment or a meeting with a client. And you want to schedule it during a time of the day when you feel like you're at your best, when your energy is high, and you can create a distraction-free environment. So I love my deep work days. I have at least a couple of these days a week. Usually Mondays and Thursdays are my deep work days. And there's usually 1 week a month where I don't schedule any meetings, and those are my deep work weeks. Those are the times when I really, really get the most done. If taking a full day is not possible for you, you can start with, again, 2 or 3 hours. You can start with half a day. And if you need extra support, you can use an app like FocusMate or Freedom to block you from going to certain websites or using certain apps on your computer during that time. You can put your phone in airplane mode and never, ever schedule meetings during this time. For me, when I'm writing my books, I block out 2-hour chunks in the mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. And I sit down to write before I check my email, before I turn on my phone. This way, I'm not sidetracked by the endless pings and notifications that try to pull me away and that take me out of that creative zone. For this podcast, I record it every Tuesday morning. I do it before anything else because I know that this needs the bulk of my creative juice. And also because of this, nothing else gets scheduled during this time because it's important to me that I get a podcast out each week. If I don't sit down on Tuesday morning, it's not going to get done. You may have heard the phrase eat the frog, which means, and there's a book called Eat the Frog, which means tackling the hardest, most important tasks first thing in the day before anything else gets in the way. And by doing this, you ensure that your highest priority gets done and everything else becomes secondary. Now, if you find yourself slipping or procrastinating, accountability can be a powerful motivator. This is having someone who knows your goals and can help you stay on track. It can be a friend, it can be a colleague. I think it's better to not have it be an intimate partner. So inside my mentorship program, Source for CEO, each woman has the opportunity to be part of an accountability pod. And many women use these pods to check in with them when they start on a block of important work and check in again when they finish it. And this system creates a sense of responsibility and keeps you from falling into avoidance. As a little girl, I loved playing school, and my favorite part was writing on a chalkboard with a fresh piece of white chalk. Today, my teacher's heart lives on, only now, instead of teaching with chalkboards, I make sure my online programs are stored and shared in the most organized, intuitive way possible. For the past few years, I've used Kajabi for this. It's heads and tails above any other online course platform that I've used since I first started teaching online back in 2008. Not only does Kajabi host all of my online programs, it also hosts all my program web pages and opt-in pages. It even hosts the private student-only podcasts I share inside my programs. Plus, it's easy for me and my team to use, and most importantly, it's easy for my students to use. I love it. If you're looking to up-level, streamline, and beautify things in your own business, whether it's how you deliver your online courses, create web pages, or even host your entire website, I invite you to enjoy a free 30-day trial with Kajabi, which is one of the sponsors for this podcast. You can click the link in the show notes to get started with your free 30-day trial. If you're like me, you'll be so happy you did. The only downside is no chalk is involved. The next thing we want to do is to connect with the parts that you feel derail you. So in internal family systems, we talk about polarizations, and these are some of your inner selves that can get caught in conflict. And when this happens, we feel like we're stuck. We feel like we're spinning our wheels and we're using a lot of energy, but we're not getting anywhere. It's like an inner tug of war. And when this happens, it creates a lot of internal stress. So in this case, a part of you wants to do the work. A part of you feels that deep soul calling, knows how important it is, maybe has even invested in courses and coaching to get support with doing that work. And then when you actually make that investment, there are other parts of you that step in that don't want to do it. They want to avoid it. And that leaves you feeling really frustrated with yourself, leaves you feeling hopeless, like maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And maybe would make you blame the coach or the course that you're taking because you're not getting the results that you want. But ultimately, there's a lot of self-judgment and self-criticism that comes along with this. So these polarized parts can keep you stuck in procrastination and frustration. So instead of pushing through, and pushing through would be like in a game of tug of war, the parts on one end of that rope happen to pull really strongly at one point, and they win momentarily, and they're able to power through to get something done. But we know that that's not sustainable because the rope is still there. The tug of war is just going to happen again when all the parts stand up again and hold the rope and start pulling in their different directions. So instead, we want to have a meeting with these parts, an inner family meeting, to have a heart to heart with them, to share with them your bigger vision. Let them see, let them understand why this work is important and what it would mean for you, for your life, for them. And since these are parts of you, they also hold that dream, that deeper dream for you. Because if this is really what you're meant to do, it is part of your DNA. It's inscribed in your heart, and it's inscribed in your parts' hearts and DNA too. So as you're having this heart to heart, you can also ask them what they're afraid will happen if they let you actually sit down and do the work. And really listen, hear their concerns. Sometimes just listening and being there for them can help release the resistance so you can move forward. And sometimes more support may be needed. Some of these parts may hold wounds and trauma around past failures, past rejections, past times when you've been judged, criticized a lot. There may need to be some deeper healing that happens there. And if you want a framework for having one of these inner family meetings, I have just a $9 program called Getting Out of Your Own Way, where I share a daily practice that you can do, several variations of that you can do that can really be a game changer. Bringing that in as part of your morning practice, and definitely when you feel stuck, but you'll get stuck a lot less the more that you have these inner family meetings, getting all of your parts on board. And actually, for podcast listeners, you can get this for free. You can get Getting Out of Your Own Way for free when you leave a review for this podcast on iTunes. So you can see information about how to do that in the show notes, and we'd be happy to send you a complimentary copy of Getting Out of Your Own Way if you leave us a review on iTunes, which helps this podcast to reach more women who need it. So that is connecting with the parts of you that derail you. The next piece is not only calling on this inner support, but also calling on higher powers for support. So in addition to working with an accountability partner and your inner selves, we can also call in support at a much bigger level. The bottom line is you do not have to do this alone. It's going to go better if you don't do it alone. So whether that's through prayer, meditation, or simply calling on your guides or the energy of your mentors, we want to bring in other beings for support, calling in your ancestors. This can be as simple as asking for guidance, clarity, and protection as you step into your work, asking for you to tap into your creative genius. For me, before I start any focused work, especially if it's something that I have resistance to doing, and if it feels like a really big project, I take some time prior to sitting down and I pray and I call on my guides to be with me. And this simple ritual grounds me and it helps me to stay connected to something greater than myself. And I have to say that this really, really does help. The next piece is to be consistent. The key to success is consistency. I know that's boring. I know that's not very sexy. It's not about having one hyper productive day. It's about showing up day after day, even when you're not feeling inspired. Small steps really do lead to progress over time. We've all heard that saying, Rome was not built in a day. It's laying things down brick by brick by brick by brick. It takes patience. It takes showing up. So sit down to do the work, even when it's hard, even when you feel resistance. That consistent effort will pay off, and over time, it will yield results. Slow and steady really, really does win the race. I remember when I was editing my first book, The Way of the Happy Woman. So this was late summer of 2010. I remember my editor had told me after I handed in the first draft of the book that my task was to take it from good to great. And when she said that, I felt a lot of pressure. And again, it was the first time I'd written a book, so I didn't have that kind of muscle memory of having done it before and knowing that I could do it. And I remember when I sat down to start editing the book, I sat down and for days, I think, I just stared at a blank computer screen. It was so painful. But I had blocked out those days, those hours to sit down and write. And even though I wasn't writing, I still sat there. I still made myself just show up for the process. And I actually reached out to a friend, and she was a birth doula at the time. And I asked her if she'd be my book doula and if she could just help to give me support and encouragement, and so that I could just check in with her as I was going through this process and realizing that, just like giving birth to a physical child, there's that transition phase of labor where things can seem like they're not moving, but it's actually preparing to push the baby out to move into those final stages. So just knowing that it's all part of the creative process, the stuckness is part of it, the resistance, the frustration, the feelings of this baby's never going to come out, the hopelessness, and then the breakthrough when you stick with it and when you get support. So the last piece is really, really do not forget to celebrate yourself. You're doing the work, you're showing up, and that in itself is an accomplishment. It's not an easy thing to fulfill what we came here to do. And this needs to be acknowledged. Sure, you could reward yourself with a treat after a period of deep work, after a 2 to 3 hour chunk of deep work. Do something that feels like a little reward. But honestly, getting the work done and seeing your progress is the best reward. It just feels so satisfying. When you sit down to write or work on your business and you see that you've taken one more step towards your bigger vision, that's the most gratifying feeling, because the universe is giving back to you, because it's just giving you this affirmation of like, yes, you are moving in alignment with your soul's destiny. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Let's do more of this. This feels good. We want that feeling. We want to feel like we are in the flow of our lives. Doesn't mean it's always easy, right? It's not. Actually, the most important work that we're going to do is the hardest work to sit down and do. So to recap, remember your bigger vision. Chunk it down to today's tasks. Schedule time for deep work. Add in accountability if needed. Connect with your parts. Call in higher powers. Stay consistent and celebrate your wins. These steps have helped me tremendously. I've created so much over the past 20 to 25 years, and I will continue to create. And I hope that these steps help you too. Keep showing up for your work, for yourself and your vision. This is how we bring our dreams into reality. This is how we help to build a better world. One woman at a time, one project at a time, one baby step at a time. And the more we do this, the easier it gets. I Promise, it starts to feel like second nature. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And until next time, keep tuning in to your true self and keep showing up for the work that matters most. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take, if you haven't already, is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavonstover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.